I have cancer. Now what? That question and 4 things you can do right now on this episode of The Little White Lie. Hello, everyone. Caren Glasser here, and welcome to The Little White Lie. I am so glad that you're here. On today's show, we have a really hard-hitting topic that it's really important for me that I want to be able to share something like this with you, and my guest is amazing, and I can't wait to introduce you to her. But in the meantime, if you're here on replay, we are excited that you're on here on replay. You are important to us. So make sure that you put into the notes down below in the comments, I'm here on replay. Let people know that you're here. And we will come back and comment on that. If you would like to share this out, that would be so awesome of you. Just click that little share button down below, share it out to your network and your friends, and bring them on into the conversation. We would be very, very happy to have that. And as I do every single show, I do my reveal. So as you can already see, I am almost all grown out. I'm going to put my head down so that you can see it. But my hair is almost grown out. I think in the next haircut, it's going to be completely gone. And as you guys know, that is my Little White Lie. If you haven't picked up your copy of the Little White Lie digital magazine, go ahead and pick it up. It's absolutely free. I'm very, very proud of the work that we've done in that magazine, and I think that you will enjoy it immensely. And of course, go check out our site, littlewhitelie.com, where all of the shows and all of the posts live. And when you share, make sure you use the hashtag Little White Lie. And I already had to put a comment up there. Lisa, thank you so much. Loving my hair. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. We've got Mary Jo here, and she's saying hello. Hi, everyone. And we've got Lynn Sagan. Hi, Caren. Love the hair. So we've got people on the show. We're so glad you're here. Stay tuned because we're about to start officially. So today my guest is Amy Morrison Regenstreif. And I'm going to read this to you because this woman is inspiring to me, and that's why I asked her to come on the show. Amy has a rare cancer, and I'm going to say it, and we were practicing it before we came on, so I'm just going to go ahead and pronounce this out here. Retroperitoneal leiomyosarcoma. It's a rare cancer, and she's had it for over 16 years. She just turned 60 in June. Happy birthday, Amy. And she has had about 20 surgeries, 6 chemos, immunotherapy, we're going to pronounce that later on, a radioembolization to her liver, 3 ports, 1 PICC line, video-assisted thoracic surgery to her lung, 2 collapsed lungs, targeted radiation to her ribs, liver and lung, and much more. In 2015, she went into anaphylactic shock during a procedure, had no oxygen to her brain for 40 minutes, and yet she woke up 3 days later. She is an unexplained medical miracle. As a matter of fact, it actually says that in her records. She is now living with about 15 small tumors and trying to figure out how to stay here on Earth. But here's the thing, you would never know it to look at her. During this time, she became a patient advocate, helping others like herself stay on this earth too. Her goal in cancer survivorship is to teach others a systematic way in goal setting and thinking outside the box to live with cancer as best they can. Her focus is not one-time patient, but those that are living with cancer ongoing for years. And so without further ado, I welcome Amy to the show. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hi. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. Thanks
well,
a lot.
I am so honored. The honor is actually mine to have you on this show. I just did a litany of things that you have experienced, and I know that is just the tip of the iceberg, but you are uniquely qualified to be sitting here and helping those who get this what can be a horrendous diagnosis, obviously. And so first thing I want to do is just ask you, what is your little white lie? We always like to find out what our little white lies are from our guests. So what's your little white lie, Amy?
I guess my little white lie is I have totally white hair like you. I decided to never color it because my little white lie is just how do I carve a life out where I still feel like me in cancer? And I don't, I'm very public about cancer, but not when I meet people on a day-to-day basis. So I always feel like I'm lying because I'm trying to be normal in my crazy world, just like everybody else. So
and what's normal? Actually, I would say question that. What exactly is normal in this everyday life that we live in?
Yeah, I don't know what's normal.
I don't even know what's normal. And so when we were designing this show, we decided how we were going to go on. You told me that there were 4 things that people should do.
Yeah. After the shock of cancer, there's four basic things you need to consider. And this is from me doing this myself and speaking with others. Number one is the psychology. What's in your head? In other words, how do you address the things in your heart and in your mind? If you're going to have cancer for years, how really do you keep going? So that's number one. Number two are the psychosocial issues of cancer. So it's a big thing because you have to basically create a whole new world around yourself. Your relationships with family and friends change. And what about your work? And, you know, how do you negotiate your medical stuff and do your paperwork? So that's the creating a world around you that you can live in happily, you know, as best. The third thing is your medical life. How do you talk to your doctors? How do you create a treatment plan? How do you deal with insurance issues? How do you research and travel? That's a big part of what I do because I have such a rare cancer. I'm always thinking of where can I fly next? So anything that has to do with your medical stuff, you know, and the world. And it's a big world as far as like searching for things to do to stay here.
Right, right.
And then perhaps the biggest thing for people is your financial life. Because as you know, in our medical system as it stands today, we pay for everything. And really, the more rare the cancer, the more you're going to pay, especially things for drugs, travel. How do you negotiate? I mean, I've had the weirdest things happen to me, even in the hospital. I go into a room and a friend of mine will whisper into my ear, don't let that person stick you. Let that person stick you. And yeah, I'm seeing the comments go by. And yeah, I know support groups help tremendously. I facilitate one where I teach this program. And really, it's all about negotiating a life of as much control as possible where there really is none. So I have two things I kind of live by. I'm the president of my company. It's like treat my healthcare as a business in goal setting. I'm the president, and my cabinet are my healthcare professionals, friends and family that want to help me. So there have been times in my treatment where I've actually had a meeting telling people what I need to get done. So I'm the president. Number two is cancer patients are fearful of so many things. There's so much fear involved in so many different ways. So, you know, really, how do you overcome that fear? And I always tell my people in my groups, if you're afraid to do something, you're afraid to ask a question, you're afraid to make a phone call or go somewhere, it is most likely that you should do it. And you feel so great after you do it. So whatever anyone is afraid of, they'll say, well, I'm afraid to talk to my doctor like that. Why? Who cares? You know, if you have something you want to say.
It's interesting you're saying that because one of the things that we talk a lot about is if it feels uncomfortable, it's probably a good, you should be doing it. And you're saying the same thing. That is your body telling you that it's uncomfortable, but in fact, that is exactly why you should be doing it. So I guess you agree.
And I'm also, and this is for I call my woo-woo friends who believe, like, because I do believe in energy and I do get feelings about things. I mean, I even walked out on a surgery one day because it didn't feel right to me that morning. So I said, stop, I'm leaving. So as far as, you know, that kind of thing, I really believe in energy. So also I teach people to go out and enjoy new things. If you've had something terrible done to your body, let's face it, there's nothing fun about surgery at all. I mean, really, even if it's a plastic surgery, there's nothing fun about going into a negative situation.
With a knife
and doing anesthesia and coming out. I don't really care about the reason. So I'm a big believer. After I have a surgery and I'm allowed, I go get a massage. I believe in Tai Chi and Qigong, and I learned conga drumming. So I'm constantly telling my people, thank you. Thank you for courageous sister. Thank you. So I really believe in telling people to go out and get the positive energy and doing, you know, what makes you feel good as well. So it's just so complicated.
You talk a lot about setting goals. And so what does that mean exactly?
So a goal would be, and I drew something for you because I know you would laugh. This is how I goal set. And with this is my stick figure. Is that hilarious? That's the first stick figure I ever drew. And, those were my 2 arms and my 2 legs were my categories.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I did my goal setting. So so under psychological, a goal might be, I'm home today and I'm bored. I don't feel well. So a simple goal for a cancer patient might be go to meetup.com and go to one new place. It's not the kind of, and I want to just make a distinction. I'm not, a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I don't address mental illness, which, a lot of cancer patients have depression and PTSD. Mm-hmm. That's not me. Mm-hmm. I help the person who can really take certain steps to move on. Right. So I tell my people in my program, today's the day you're going to do something new. I don't care if you're bald. Today's the day you're going to make a phone call. In other words, I had a parent once that said, I don't have anyone to pick my kids up at school. We talked about that. So I had a parent in the very beginning create an entire chart on the web, and she emailed it to her temple, her school, anything. And so she sent out a chart, and people would sign up to come do things for her because she's a single mom. She didn't have a big support network. So, so that was just amazing. So she even had people sign up for coffee. I'm lonely. I'm doing chemo today.
But she asked for what she needed.
And that's really the point. I want the patient to feel empowered because people don't know how to help you. You don't know how to help me unless I ask you, unless I give you, and it's not come see me next week. Mm-hmm. It's, I ran out of milk. Are you going to the store today? And can you please pick me up a carton of milk?
Is that hard? Is that hard for people to
It's hard for everyone. Right. It's hard for me. I am so independent. I hate asking anyone for anything. Mm-hmm. But there was a time once when I really couldn't move. I couldn't even lift my leg myself. So I was literally calling people up and saying, I have physical therapy next week at 2:00. I can't even get to the Uber by myself. Can you help me get to physical therapy? Can you, I had a friend once many years ago, which was hilarious, bring me 6 gallons of chicken soup to my front door because she didn't know what to do for me. She goes, I didn't know what to do. You didn't talk to me. And so that was like a wonderful lesson to me. I said, you're right. I'm not making my wishes known of the people that want to help me. I'm not telling them how to help me. Because also with cancer survivorship and the psychological with long-term illness is that there's plenty of people that run away.
Right.
You have to let people help you the way they know how. I always say you have to let people be. So that person who makes you that chicken soup is not necessarily that person who's going to be able to sit with you in chemotherapy if you want company. So you let people do what they can. So for also the people that run away, cancer patients have to do new things. They can't just be. They have to keep going.
So I'm putting a comment up here. And by the way, if you have a question for Amy or you have a comment, please put it down in the post because I will share it up there at the top. It's important to let your friends know that they can support you. And I understand what you're saying. As you know, Amy, in my prior life, I'm a retired clergy woman. And I would deal with death and dying all the time. And people would always say to me, I don't know what to do for that person. They just lost their father or their child, God forbid, or I don't know what to say. And I would basically say what you're saying, but sometimes it's just being there. And sometimes it's just picking up the phone and saying, I'm coming over. Is it okay? And just taking because most of the time we're not going to ask. And that is a challenge, right?
Yeah. And everyone has to learn to ask. And that's part of the psychological. And we talk about why that is and how to help you make things better. I know where your message applies to. Yes, it does. Yes. It applies to not just cancer, but any long-term chronic disease. Absolutely. It's a constant battle, especially when you look good. People have said to me, Amy, you don't look sick. I don't know what to do for you. That's why you have to ask me.
And you know what, Amy? Yesterday I saw a picture of you on Facebook. You were on yesterday or the day before.
Newport Beach with the shoe.
And you were standing there joyously with your hands up. You had your pants rolled up. You looked joyful. And I said that to you the other day. And
joyful is a practice. Joyful and grateful, it's a practice. It is truly a learned practice.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to have really miserable things happen to you
Yep.
to really appreciate the joy.
Right.
You have a minute for a story?
Oh, of course.
So once I was, I've been in the hospital over 20 times. Once I was in the hospital and there was a woman next to me in her 40s, and she was in the room next door. And she had come in, she had snuck into my room and walked throughout the hallway. And she came in, and when I was done with my walk, I walked into my room, and here's this patient next door to me sitting in my room when I came back from my walk. And I was shocked because I knew she was my next door neighbor. And she was a young woman in her 30s or 40s. So I was walking into my room in Cedars, and I look at her and I said, "Hi." And she said, "I'm your neighbor." And I said, "I know." And I didn't know whether to call security or go back to the nurses. I didn't know what to. So I knew there was a reason. So I said, "Can I help you?" But I stayed at the door. And she said, "I don't understand." I said, "What don't you understand?" She goes, "You're in the hospital. I know you just had a surgery, and everyone in your room is laughing." She goes, "You're laughing, and I can't stop crying." She goes, "How do you do that?"
Wow.
And
so how do you answer that? How did you answer that?
I said, "Is this your first time here?" She said, "Yes." I said, "This is about my 8th time here." And I just said, "I've had a lot of practice, lots and lots of practice." And I said, "I hope you don't have my practice." But then I went out and I went to the desk because I had to have her taken out of my room. And they banished her from the floor. They moved her. I hope I'm assuming eventually she was okay.
Yeah.
But she really, nobody was visiting her and she was crying. And that's a very big deal.
It's a very big deal. As Mary Jo says, joy is so much better, right?
Yes, joy is so much better than joy is so much better than happy. Happy is very misunderstood, the word happy and the word positive. Thank you. The word positive and the word happy. The word positive is not really in my vocabulary.
Right. I think, Amy, you need to refresh yourself. You just froze. So I'm going to have Amy go ahead and refresh yourself. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm going to go ahead and refresh her as well. I'll be right back as we come back in. And I think we might have lost, I think Amy is coming back in a second, so I'm back. And as soon as Amy comes back in, we'll bring her back into the show. As you can see, Amy is very inspirational. She is an amazing, amazing woman. And I have to be honest, Amy and I have never met in person, and we're going to be meeting for the first time in person on Friday now that I've moved down to the area that she lives in. And I am so excited to be able to meet her in person and to give her a hug. But she has been so inspirational to me, and I know that she's inspiration to all of you. And when she comes back on, I'm going to go ahead and share something because I want to show you. She's got this really amazing group that is on Facebook. I'm going to show you. It's called, which is interesting, Dead Women Living, a guide in long-term cancer survivorship and comedy. And you notice that it says comedy there because Amy actually is quite a talented comedian, and I'm hoping that she's going to be able to join back in. I know she got totally kicked out, but this is somebody who I am inspired by, and I wanted to share with my audience and my network somebody who has totally inspired me in a way that almost nobody else has. I hope that I never have to experience the 16 years of cancer that she has already experienced, but she is doing some great work in the community. She is advocating for people, and she used to be in the insurance industry. She's not doing that anymore, but she knows how to advocate and she knows how to navigate in that arena. It looks like we have lost her, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off here. If we have any questions that you would like to leave for Amy in the meantime, make sure you put that in the comments because she will come back and she will make comments. I just want to thank her for the bottom of my heart for being on with us today. As I said, she's inspirational. Go check her out. Look for her on Facebook. She will brighten your day just by the conversation that you have with her. Thank you, as always, for joining us. This is the first of a whole year of new Little White Lies. I hope that you will join us every single week on Wednesdays at 2:30. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, because we do know that you have a choice as to where you spend your time. And I want to thank you for spending time with us today. So without further ado, we'll see you next week on the next episode of The Little White Lie. See you later, everyone.